Mike Rogers. I'm with Granite Grok as well as a Republican activist. And my first memory of Steve was Steve and Skip sitting side by side with their baseball caps and their enormous headphones, hiding behind laptops, and this mountain of wires and cameras and microphones and audio mixers, because they were out recording an event, and they were interviewing the candidates and the passers-by and anybody with an opinion, as if they needed to borrow opinions because they had the strongest ones of their own. Well, back then it was basically Steve and Skip writing for Granite Grok. Now there's a whole bunch of us. Ellen's one of our best writers. Don't let her sell herself short. And Steve is probably still the most prolific contributor. Our editor-in-chief, he keeps us in line, he keeps us brief, he makes sure that we remember how to link things in properly, from the teaser to the main article, and doesn't let us get away with too much in the way of bad grammar or spelling. Most of all, Steve has enough opinions and knowledge for a whole room full of activists, and we see plenty of it on display every day. It's all good stuff. And Granite Grok is one of those places where you don't have to whisper, I'm a Republican. We're all hard-charging conservatives, and we don't care if it offends the other side. And if you've got something you want published, we'll publish it as an op-ed with or without your name. Thanks. Steve, show and tell us more about it.
All right, I'm not as high-tech as Alan on paper. So my mother spent most of her professional career rehabilitating alcoholics. So as a child, I spent a lot of time at AA meetings. Started drinking coffee when I was 6. That's a long time. So whenever I get in front of a bunch of people, my first instinct is to say, "Hi, I'm Steve, and I'm a conservative," or "I'm a hyperbolic bomb-throwing right-wing radical," or whatever it is. But I'm actually an employed, white, happily married male, heterosexual, Christian, conservative. That actually makes snowflakes melt when you say it in the right environment. It's actually like the 7 deadly sins of the multi-culty liberal. He's white, he's male, he's happily married, he's a heterosexual Christian conservative. You know, they hate that. I'm not allowed to walk on a college campus, obviously, for all the right reasons, not because I'm armed, but because, you know, I'm a threat to their worldview. A man-caused disaster, I guess is a good way to call it. And you can't use the word man on a college campus, can you? About that. Anyway, it gets worse. I have 3 kids, my own house. It's not a tiny house because I have 3 kids. I have 2 dogs, so I'm killing the planet. But they don't like me for that either. And my dogs have gender-specific names. Okay? That's not allowed either. And this is, this is me flip my page. So anyways, general rule, the liberal mob doesn't care too much for the kinds of things that we talk about at GrokTALK.com. And since I'm a conservative political blogger, I share my thoughts daily about news, and politics, and culture, and I always do that through constitutional conservatism. I'm a right-wing guy. I've been blogging for 10 years. In that time, I have published about 13,000 posts. 2.5 of those years I spent doing a weekly radio show with Jane Aitken and Ed Now from CNHT called New Hampshire Taxpayer Radio. For about 3 years, Mike and myself and Skip every Saturday morning did a 2-hour podcast called GrokTALK. And we did all that stuff, and we still had jobs, and we still had families, and we still had all these other things in our lives, but that was our contribution. That was what we felt we could do. That was my contribution. I sometimes was working 2 jobs in doing this and blogging and trying to help out. And you have to find your place and figure out what it is you can do to contribute. Can you run for office? Maybe you can run for office. Can you work for a campaign? Maybe you can work for a campaign. Maybe you can blog. Maybe you can do podcasts. Maybe you can do interviews. Maybe you can record events. You have to go out and find your place. GrokTALK.com, we try to do as many of those things as we can with a bunch of fully employed individuals who are just trying to scratch out some time to try and make a little bit of a difference. So I wanted to tell you a couple things. Oh wait, for those of you who don't recognize me. Hi, I'm Steve. So a couple other things I do in my spare time. I'm on the board of the 603 Alliance.
Yay!
I served briefly on the board of the Republican Liberty Caucus for a little bit of time. I worked with a gentleman named Kevin McHugh a little while back to start an organization called the New Hampshire Republican Volunteer Coalition. After the 2008 election, we were very unhappy with the results, and like a lot of different watershed moments in your life, in 9/11, the election of Barack Obama and Jeanne Shaheen to the Senate, things like that, catastrophic events. We were like, what did we do wrong? What do we need to do? What can we do to change it? So we created an organization whose sole purpose was to connect people who had that same concern with candidates at the local level. The goal was to get them elected to office, to take back the House, to take back the state Senate, do whatever we could. So the New Hampshire Republican Volunteer Coalition had its first ground game in Salem, and I think it was 2009 in a special election. We had two candidates running. One of them was a Massachusetts Democrat turned registered New Hampshire Republican called Tony DeFruscia. And he was in a primary, and we helped his opponent win, and then we went on to help her win the special election, and her name was Marilyn de Garcia.
Yeah.
So we were pretty happy with that. So anyway, I just a little bit more. I started blogging in June of 2008, right before that election, so it's kind of bad timing for me. I started working with Bob DeMoore at NH Insider, like by September of that year. Things kind of moved pretty quick for me. And GrokTALK, which was started in 2006, by the way, and has been online for 12 years, adopted me in 2010, and I've been writing there ever since. We have over 30,000 published posts at GrokTALK. We have over 1 million views on YouTube. In the Nashua, in the New Hampshire media landscape, GrokTALK gets more online traffic than the Nashua Telegraph, NH1, and the Keene Sentinel.
Wow,
Okay?
that says a lot. That's worth an applause.
That's as of today. Okay, we are technically a top 10 media presence in the state of New Hampshire. We use Alexa.com, which is a globally recognized traffic web monitoring service, and here's the top media sites. We don't include WGIR or WMUR because we're not really competing with them yet. We hope to, but we haven't yet. So number 1 is the Union Leader. Number 2 is Seacoast Online. Number 3 is Fosters.com. Number 4 is the Concord Monitor. Number 5 is the Conway Daily Sun and the Berlin Daily Sun. Number 6 is GrokTALK. Okay? Everybody else, as far as media presence, online media presence, is below us in traffic. A lot of people don't know that. They're always surprised. We did some training events with 603 Alliance, and everybody was like, wow. So the reason I tell you that is because, like I said, we don't have to be quiet. We don't whisper. And one of the things we'd like to do is to get people to send us content. You write a letter to the editor. Maybe it gets in the paper, maybe it doesn't. Send it to us. We have more readers online than the National Telegraph does.
Wow.
Right? So it's a great way to do it. And we do fully expect to pass the Conway Daily Sun, Berlin Daily Sun before the end of the year, which would make us a top 5 media website in New Hampshire. So that's one of our goals. I'm not telling you all this because I think I'm awesome or we're awesome. It's about the message. It's about conservatism. It's about constitutional conservatism. It's about small government. It's about markets. And we're just a vehicle for that. And we need people out there who are talking to constituents to tell us their stories. A great example is up in the North Country with Senator Woodburn. I have a coup for the last 2.5 months. I've had a Coos County Democrat sending me internal emails, links, conversations, media, and we produced about 6 posts that have had amazing traffic talking about the conflicts inside the Democrat Party up in Coos. Now, that's the kind of stuff we want. You know, we need people to send us that stuff. If you can write it yourself, great, send it to us. We'll post it as an LTE. If you don't want your name attached to it, we'll do it anonymously. Or we'll write off of that and post it ourselves. We put out about 200 articles every month. Some of the writers are here, but they include Chairman Ed Nail, of CNHT, Kimberly Morin from the Women's Defense League, of course, Skip Murphy, founder of GrokTALK.com. Mike Rogers has been contributing regularly since January of 2011. Ellen Cole joined us this year. We just added Ian Underwood, Rep. Dan Itza, Rep. Josh Moore, Ken Eyring from Wyndham. Anne-Marie Banfield contributes on a regular basis. Well, not regular, but she's getting better. Susan Olson, Ed Mosca, Jane Cormier, Don Ewing, and Rick Olson have all written for GrokTALK.com. And we're looking for more. I'm looking for the ideological equivalents of the Greg Moores and the Bill O'Briens, and I want more writers. So if you know anybody who can write, and this is a huge problem, I've been trying to get college Republicans to write. Apparently they don't know how. I've been after them for months and years, and every time I think I have somebody, they're like, oh, I can't do it. And I'm like, all right, fine. It's not as easy as some people think, like me. I just do it automatically, but not a lot of people can do it. If you know somebody who can, who you think has the right political views for GrokTALK, please let me know. If you want to write op-eds and LTEs, let me know. Okay. We have another page. I covered all this stuff. Skip it. GrokTALK.com as a resource. Again, 12 years, over 30,000 articles. Those articles, most of them have links. Some of them will be dead by now. But we have links to content all over the planet that is effectively a resource for you guys to use to look for information about conservative issues and policies. We just write it. We don't just write about them. We link to them. We talk about what other people say about conservatism, constitutionalism, and free markets and all that. So if you go to GrokTALK and you search an issue or a candidate or somebody whose name pops up in the news, you may find we've written about them. You may find we've written about them a lot. You may find we've ruined their political career. It's entirely possible. So that's a huge database of information that's available that we want to encourage people to use. And it's free. We just rebuilt the website to make it faster, cleaner, hopefully easier to use. We've improved the mobile experience because about 65% of our visitors are now reaching us on mobile devices, and that looks like it's climbing up to 70 pretty quickly. I am going to try to get a dedicated GrokTALK app at some point in the next year or two, hopefully. We've invested in all new media equipment, some of which is sitting right in front of you, and hopefully to make streaming, interviews, podcasts, everything better than it was before. As I said, our goal is to become a top 5 news media destination in the state of New Hampshire. All I can ask you to do is visit the site. A lot of people have heard of it. Not everybody has. They don't necessarily go there. Okay? We would like to encourage you to encourage other people to go there. And like us and share us and follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
And talk back. Talk back.
And talk back. We have a lot of Democrats and liberals and independents and all kinds of people who engage in conversation on our website. And some of the best material is underneath the post. So, and you can find out a lot of neat stuff down there. And again, if you want to submit something, a name, an LTE, a link, a lead, a story, something that's happened at the local level, a candidate who said something ridiculous at a board meeting or a committee meeting, anything at all, you can email me at steve@GrokTALK.com. If you know anyone, again, importantly, who might be worthy of writing, who has that skill, I really am looking for those people. We are Republicans, Independents, and at least one registered Democrat.
Gee, I wonder who that is.
Ed Nell. Yeah, the Democrats like, he's not a Democrat. Ed actually ran for chairman of the Democrat Party one year.
He did?
He stood outside the convention handing out flyers, running as a write-in candidate. Ask him about it. He'll tell you some great stories.
Did he get anyone to write him?
I don't think he got. I think he probably got all his flyers thrown away. But that's pretty much it. We have a very unique opportunity with GrokTALK. I did something called the New Media Militia for about a year, and I tried to track down and share libertarian, center-right, conservative, Republican content from other sites in the state, and there really isn't enough. There isn't enough people doing it. There aren't. They don't have the reach or the resources, and we do. And we want to get your message out. We want to share your issues as a candidate, and hopefully, whether we win or lose, however November 6th turns out, Granite Rock's still going to be there. We're still going to be trying to hold people accountable no matter what party they register with. And we'd like your help. Thank you.
Can you take questions?
I will.
I have a question.
Sure.
What month did Granite Rock start in 2006?
I don't know.
Because Chattanooga Engineering started in October.
Did it? Really?
Of 2006.
Sometime I'll have to ask you.
And then I believe you came to my house to interview me.
I did.
But I don't remember what it was about.
It was about a concealed carry weapon. No, it was your
Oh,
phone.
it was
You
that.
dropped your
it
phone.
Was, no, that
that
wasn't
it?
me. I remember now. My old cell phone, I used to wear it on my belt.
they thought it was-
and the Democrat that sat
Thought it was
2
gas.
seats away from me, because I got up on the floor to speak for constitutional carry.
Mhm.
And when I got back, he was harassing me. He said, "Is that your gun?" And of course I wanted to say, "Do you want to find out?" But I didn't. That's what it was. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody
Good.
else? Thank you.
Thanks.
Don't forget. I want to thank you both for
Thank you.
being our speaker.
Thank you very much.
GrokTALK.